This is the strategy that works. We've been doing this for the last 3.5 years, and it's going to get the most levels of engagement.
This ain't this cause I say it respectfully. It's time to eat up, right like a speeder, taking it deeper, and that's how it better be. I never let the comparison get to me. I just remember the promises meant for me. I know the enemy and that he's sent for me. I keep the blood of the lamb as my centerpiece. I cannot trust in no crystals or energy. Look at the chemistry, it do not even mix chemically. Most of the tricks they be gimmicks, they mimic the truth. It's poison and we got the remedy.
And what we're looking for is people that are hungry, wanting to hustle, wanting to break through walls, wanting to go after that legendary status.
Show me the chicken, I'm frying it. They say you ain't about it. Tell them that you finna make it, but they doubt it. But you rose like the flower. Tell me what it's like to live with superpowers. I don't know, but I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I just know that I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it.
What's up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan. Today is Tuesday, even though it's the day after a holiday and I'm not prepared like I normally am. We're going live. We're talking about some email marketing stuff today. For those of you that are new to the content, if you want to watch more of this content, we shoot it every single week. Head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We have over 1,500 videos, over 800,000 views on our content. And subscribe, turn on notifications, do all that stuff. Hit that bell so you can get notified every single time that we post content, go live, etc. If you're on YouTube, follow me on LinkedIn. A lot of content over there that is not the same. So the purpose of this content is to provide you guys with marketing and sales tips that you can implement today. This is not theory-based. This is action-based. This is based on history. This is based on tried and true methods that we do every day here at MFG Tribe, the leading industrial sales and marketing agency in the world/United States. Definitely in this room, we are the best, right, Riley? So if you guys are interested in getting some help with your marketing and you come across content, and you're like, you know what? I don't have time to do that, or I don't have a team to do that. Just hit us up, go over to our website, book some time based on your industry, and we will get into it. So let's get into it. Every week I go live on Tuesdays. Every other week I go live on Thursdays with Alex to talk about industrial sales. Today, we're talking about marketing. We're talking about email marketing in 2024. What works? So those of you that are live, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, if you're doing email marketing right now, put a 1 in the comments so I know that you're doing it. Also, let me know where you're coming in from. The way the show works, we're going to go through the content. I usually have 3 to 5 points. Today's going to be 5. Write some stuff on the board, talk about it. We're going to take a break, then go to the comments and questions and answer anything that you guys have off the wall, on subject, off subject, in between. Let's go. All right, so email marketing 2024, you guys doing it? I don't know, but let's talk about it. Bullet point number 1, we want to go purple or green, Riley? Oh, Riley loves the purple. Point number 1. Traditional methods. We can't talk about what works without talking about what you guys are doing right now. And by you guys, I mean you industrial marketers out there. What's the historical that you guys have been doing? This is how it works. So many industrial agencies or industrial companies, manufacturing companies are like, yeah, we're doing email marketing. What are you guys doing? We peel back the layers of that onion and we find out that a lot of it stinks pretty bad. So traditionally, people are saying a couple different areas. Number 1, a lot of companies are sending the emails out from a generic email address. What do I mean by generic? Sales at, marketing at, Susie at, new insights at, some sort of generic email address. That's number 1 that manufacturing companies are doing. Number 2, they're not doing it consistently. You guys are sending out broadcast emails. It's like, I got a list of, list size doesn't even matter, 200, 2,000, 20,000. Once a month, I'm pushing this email out there. What are my hopes for it? I'm hoping somebody's going to click a link and come to the website. That's what typically is happening. Or you guys have worked with an agency, maybe not an agency like MFG Tribe where we know how to do it. We're sending out hundreds of thousands of emails a month with very high engagement rate based on what works, based on what I'm going to walk through with you guys today. But you work with an agency, and the agency's like, no, you need to do it. You need to do it consistently. Once every few weeks, send out an email. There's issues with it. the copy, the design, the look, the feel, the who it's coming from, frequency, all those things are problems. You just don't do it the right way. And how do I know the right way? It's because we do it, right? Data doesn't lie. This is not based on theory. This is not me saying like, oh, you should do it this way because in theory this is what works. This is just strictly based on the data, which we track every single month for our clients and review it and then make adjustments because that's how marketing works. It's never a set in stone thing. I can tell you what works today, which we're going to go through. That could change in 6 months, little micro adjustments. It could change drastically in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. But the traditional, you just gotta hang it up and say, what does the data show us? What is your open rate with your traditional? You sub 10% open rate, sub 15%? Maybe you're like, no, dude, 20% open rate. Okay, that's cool. Let's move on to the next one. Click rate, bounce rate once that traffic comes to the site. How many deals and opportunities are coming from it? Because all of these vanity metrics of sends, opens, clicks, etc., that's what they are. It's vanity. It's like, I brag about this, but if they don't result in opportunities, what does it matter? I would rather send it to 100 people and get 10 deals than 1,000,000 people and get the same. It has to result in actual opportunities. You have to be tracking it. So how are you tracking it right now? Are you using a MailChimp, Constant Contact? Are you using a Pardot, Marketo, Apollo? Are you using something like that? Are you using HubSpot? We're a HubSpot partner agency. There isn't an agency out there in this space that knows HubSpot like we do. And there's certain things that you need to pay attention to and certain things you need to do. HubSpot is the best, and I'm going to explain to you why when we go through this list. This is what works. But you have to look at your data because it doesn't lie. If your data is showing you this is not working, I mean, you can get into the details of A/B testing subject line, A/B testing the copy, the video, the links, the number of links, all that stuff. You can go through all the testing. I'm going to tell you one thing. You got to break it down. Everything's very simple, but look at the data and it'll tell you if it's working or not. So the first action that you're going to have to take after you realize that your traditional methods are probably not working very well, let's go bullet point number 2 over here. Number 2 is going to be build a list. What do I mean by build a list? I mean, I want you to build a list of people to send emails to. Well, Kyle, I already have a list built. Well, your list probably sucks. It's that simple. If you're looking for new contacts, use something like Seamless AI, Zoom Info, something like that. Don't buy a list from somebody, something like that. And if you guys are already like, no, my list is good, build a better list. Make it more accurate. Break it down into categories. If you offer manufacturing as a service, meaning you have equipment, people pay you X amount of dollars to make parts off of that equipment, or you have facility services where it's service of, I'm going to do this to your facility, paint the roof on the inside, clean up stuff, regardless of what it is, you need to break your lists into smaller lists. So it has to go from, maybe it's geographic location. Ideally, it'd be like industry. So if you're making stuff for aerospace, medical, automotive, industrial, agriculture, appliance, etc., break your total list into smaller verticals, right? Based on industry. That's kind of step 1. Here's the reason why. When you get into the copy, it's a lot easier for you to be relevant with your copy if you can be specific to an industry. We've got a client right now that we're bringing in, I think, 3,000 to 5,000 people per month per vertical. And we got it all laid out over the next 6 months. Aerospace vertical, defense vertical, EV, automotive, space vertical. So we got all these verticals laid out in the strategy for like 6 to 8 months. We've got certain amount of verticals per month, certain amount of people per vertical, and then copy per those people. Copy meaning copywriting. So if you break it into smaller bite-sized groups and you can be more strategic and you look at movement, it's like, I got 500 per industry. I sent an email to this industry of 500. I got this type of results back. I sent this other email out to a group of 500, this types of results. Then you can start comparing verticals. But you have to start with like, is my data good in this list? A lot of times the data that we come across from companies like, yeah, we do email marketing. We got a list. We got 5,000, 20,000, 120,000 people. We start to email them and it's like, wait, you haven't touched this person in 2.5 years. This data is probably bad. So you can use something like Never Bounce or any sort of bounce software where you put their email address in it, It's going to cost you a little bit of money. I'm talking like $100. Like I think NeverBounce, which is owned by ZoomInfo, huge fan of ZoomInfo. NeverBounce is owned by them, rightfully so. I think that the acquisition was super intelligent. Maybe $125 to do like 10,000 contacts. You upload the contacts into it and you say, check to see if these emails are good. And it's just doing its thing. You can even integrate NeverBounce into your CRM system, Salesforce, HubSpot, etc. So you can clean up your data real time. But you want to use something like that to say, like, if I've got 5,000, 10,000 people, first thing I want to start with is my data good? And if it's like, okay, it's 80% good, okay, check. Because you can't move on to measure the effectiveness of your email marketing campaign if you don't know the percentage of accuracy to the first variable, which is the contact. So it's not even like a, do they need it? It's, is it even the right person's information? That's going to mess with bounce rate. That's going to mess with open rate. That's going to mess with click rate. You're going to be like, I sent it out to 10,000 people. We had a 20% bounce rate. So really you send it out to 8,000 people. Well, your percentage of open over the 10,000 as a denominator is going to be worse than if you said only do it over the 8,000 that were delivered. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, but start with cleaning up your list. NeverBounce or any sort of like email bouncing software. Just Google search it. You'll find one. There's only a handful that are out there that are like really prominent and good. NeverBounce, I personally have used. We have a license with it. We use it all the time for ourselves and for our clients. That's what I think is the best. There could be betters out there. But start with cleaning up your list first, then breaking it into industries. Or if you're like, hey, these people here, I would push these services. That could be a segmented list. So you want to segment it down to where it's not just a shotgun approach, but you're more rifle focused. Like these people, I would clean their ductwork, right, for their facility. These other people, because of their location, their size, et cetera, I would do this other service. I want to push this other service to them and have questions around that. So break it down to however your manufacturing environment is, whatever it is that you do. Think about it like, if I wanted to bring this group down to 3 to 5 segmentations, what would they be? Does not matter how many people in it. It could be 10 people in one, 20 in another. If at a bare minimum, it brings your awareness to the fact that you're heavy in one area and light in others. If you say, I want more automotive work, I want more aerospace work, but then you look at your list and you're like, I don't have automotive or aerospace people. I have 50, and everybody else I have 5,000, medical, et cetera. You need to focus on that list of 50. Seamless AI, ZoomInfo. If you don't have the money for that, do it old school and just like use other programs. Apollo, I think Apollo AI has it. Hunter.io, right? Lusha. So Hunter, Lusha, Lusha, that has a good thing. It's like $50 a month for 50 contacts, and it integrates with LinkedIn as a little Chrome extension. So you can be like, ooh, this person, I want their information, add them to my contacts in Lusha, and it finds them, gets their information, puts them in the list. So, I mean, even $50 a month for Lusha, I mean, that's a good deal. So build that list. Number 2, action, after you've realized that. So number 3 bullet point, number 2 action. This is key. Sequences. But Kyle, sequences is a HubSpot term. That's right, it is. That's what we use here. We use HubSpot terminology. One-off emails that are threaded. Huge game changer. We've been doing it for the last 17 months. We have abandoned completely, I shouldn't say completely, 90% of our email marketing comes from sequences. So let me break down what a sequence is. You get them right now. Guarantee I get them right now. A sequence is like, let's go back to 2 years ago. Email programs, Google, Apple, Outlook, etc., have tightened their security on what's being delivered because enough people have been like, dude, I'm sick of the spam. So what they've done is they've said every marketing email that gets sent out there, it has unsubscribe links at the bottom. You have to have your address and unsubscribe or update preferences. That is a law because you're using automation to do it. And it's just I don't know if it's it's probably the Canned Spam Act. So once you have that, imagine that's obviously in the code of the email, right? That you have that. So the email providers email providers are like, look to see if it has this code. Oop, it does. It's probably spam because it's been sent with an unsubscribe. I'm going to put them into this list. For Gmail, it's like promotions or updates. For Outlook, it could be like, we're just putting it to spam. For Apple, could be the same thing. But that drastically tanked open rates for marketing emails. It does not matter if you had workflows set up or automation set up to where it's like, this list of automotive people get this email first, and then 7 days later, they get this next email. And then based on if they opened that or clicked that, then I have this if-then branch. And then if they opened it, they get this other email. But if they didn't open it, they go down this other path and get this other email. None of that matters. Those are all great workflows. But the issue is that they're not being delivered to the actual inbox. Started like almost 2 years ago. They started really tightening it up. And so the way around that is sequences. So sequences are one-to-one emails. In HubSpot, you can do automation through it. You cannot do sequences in Pardot, Marketo. They don't allow it. Apollo.io does have sequences. HubSpot, the leader of sequences. So there's numerous companies out there, but what you want to look for is, and it may not be called sequences, what you want to look for is people that say, I'm going to send this email from Kyle to Joe. And the email's going. And the subject line is like content that'll make you help your marketing. And then I'm very short with my copy, and we'll get into that. And then I send that email. It gets delivered into his inbox by default. If his address is good, his contact information is good, going back to the build a list, by default, it's going to have a massively higher likelihood to get delivered to his inbox because sequences do not require the unsubscribe at the bottom. It looks like an email that I just wrote. It has my signature line. You can scroll down at the bottom. There is no unsubscribe, update preferences, address, etc. There's none of that with these sales sequences. Then Joe doesn't respond. It's been 7 days. And day 7 rolls around, day 8 rolls around, and you know what is next in that automation workflow? Joe gets a response to that first email. So now we're talking about threaded replies. So he got the first email. Now he's going to get a second email that is threaded to it. So now it goes from 1 email to now 2. And it's going to say, hey, Joe, following up on the email that I sent below, blah, 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 short copy. And it looks like I wrote it. Now, if you go fancy with like banners and all this stuff and like lengthy text and like, oh, I was just thinking of you, or like the cheesy stuff, or like, congratulations, I noticed that you work at this company, insert company variable, and you've been here for this long, insert years, according to LinkedIn profile, etc. You're going to come off as cheesy, and people aren't going to want to do business with you because they know that it's marketing. But a way to trick the servers, trick the email providers and the email readers, go to sequences. Your open rate is going to go up to 30, 35%. As long as your data is good in your list, it will go up. Your click rate will increase as long as your copy is good. But your click rate can go 12, 15, 17% click rate. So open rate increase, click rate increases. Now is the time to use this if you haven't, because this will be broken because people like you and me are going to beat it up. We're going to use it to our advantage. And then eventually the email service providers are going to be like, haha, I figured out how I can tell the difference between a one-off email and these sequences that everybody's talking about. As soon as they do that, now you're back to 2005 email marketing, right? Same thing that happened then. Email marketing came out, people abused it, things get put in place, marketers break everything, things get put in place to reduce the likelihood of spam, etc. And still 20 to 25 years later, we're still dealing with the same issue, but we're just trying to figure out ways around it, right? So it's like we're boxing with the email providers and they're like, oh, I got you cornered, dude. And you're like, nope, I'm going to slip out of this. I'm going to send sequences. You can't detect it. Eventually they will detect it. So use it and beat it up while you can. But these sequences are great because it's all threaded. You don't have the update preferences and unsubscribe at the bottom. It's a threaded email response. The open rate is drastically higher. The click rate, the engagement rate, the opportunities, deals you're going to get from it. Like I said, HubSpot. So to get this with HubSpot sequences, I think that you need Sales Hub Pro, which you can get Sales Hub Pro for $100 a month per seat if you're a new HubSpot user. If you want to do automation, where I build a list of 10,000 people and I've got 5 salespeople, I need each of them to get 2,000 contacts and they need to be divided these certain ways. Well, then you need Marketing Hub Pro and Sales Hub Enterprise. All in all, though, with discounts that you can get through us, you got 5 salespeople, you can get that for under $1,000, maybe around $1,100, between, let's say, $1,000, $950 to like $1,200, depending on the timing. That's not just like on a random Tuesday. That's like end of quarter deals, end of month deals sometimes, but you can get some decent discounts. They want people to use this. But for $1,200 a month, $1,300, maybe you got 10 users, it's a good deal. And you can automate everything. Or if you can't do it, let us just do it. But at a minimum, you're looking at, you can do Sales Hub Pro, create some sequences, send emails out to people, $150 a month or $100 a month, plus maybe marketing starter or something like that for like $50 a month. So maybe $200 a month you're in it. Now you have to change this, like compare this up to Apollo's stuff. They have sequences. Apollo's a good system, not as robust, not as beefy as HubSpot, but it's a good system. You might be able to get it for cheaper. But you got to look at this and say, I'm going to do email marketing. If you're doing any sort of email marketing, go towards sequences. These are emails from a single person. Kyle, who do these emails come from? The salesperson. You got a group of 5, you got a group of 2, you got one salesperson, 100 salespeople. They get assigned a contact. That's the contact owner. The email comes from the contact owner, and the email is short. So if they do reply, the salesperson gets it. Now you might be thinking, Kyle, my salespeople are so busy. We can't do hundreds of emails a day. It's going to flood their inbox. Yes, it will. Out of office replies, not interested replies, et cetera, et cetera. So the way around that is that you space everything out. I got 1,000 new contacts this month. I'm going to send 25 emails per day for 20 days, right? Or whatever the math works out to. But you want to send it 25, 30, 40 emails per day to drip it out there. It's not a shoot your shot, all 1,000 in one day or in 1 week. Spread it out over the month. That's going to reduce the likelihood of spam complaints. It's going to reduce the likelihood of getting your email inbox bogged down by people responding. It's well worth it. Got to do sequences. If you take nothing more from this, I got 2 more bullet points to talk about. If you take nothing more from this, do sequences. HubSpot, Sales Hub Pro, or Apollo. You got to ask the question, can I do sequences, one-off emails? Can I create a workflow where it's automated and I could do sequences? Here's the kicker. If you did do HubSpot, and if you want a discount, just reach out to me and we'll get you set up through the partner thing, and we can get you better pricing than what you can get direct with HubSpot because we know where their pricing can go, so we beat them up pretty bad. Here's the cool thing about it. With sequences, it can be email, 5 days later, task, follow on LinkedIn. So let's build that out. I just thought of that because sometimes I take advantage of the things that we do and I know. So with a sequence, number 1 is going to be email, day 1, right? Next thing is going to be LinkedIn connection. And I'm going to put that as like maybe day 5. The time of these don't really matter like all that much, whether it's day 1, day 3, day 4. So you send an email day 1, you're on day 5, you sent them LinkedIn connection request, and this is going to have to be manual. Then your next step in the sequence, let's say we want to create a task to call. Day 9. So you sent them an email, you then sent them a LinkedIn connection request. Hopefully they responded and engaged back and connected with you. Then you've got a task to call day 9. Then you're like, you know what? I want to go back to automation. Then you're going to do email number 2. FU stands for follow up. Maybe this is on day 16. Then maybe you go email 3. Then you go day 28. Then maybe there's another task. Then, so on and so forth. But you build out this sequence where this sequence here, this could be for a cold contact. Cold contact's going to work through this. First, you email them, try and make it warm. Then you're going to send them a connection request. They still don't know you, but maybe this breaks that level of trust. I got Siri recording what I'm saying. Maybe that breaks that level of trust, and you're like, hey, it's an icebreaker. You don't know me, but here's my resume basically on LinkedIn. Here's everything I know and where I've worked. Then you have a task to call them. Then you email them number 2. Maybe email 3 is next. Then you have a task for, let's say, follow up LinkedIn. Then maybe your last one is like a 4th email at day 50, 40, and you're like, the last email is going to be, hey, apparently you're probably not interested or something along those lines. You won't hear back from me. Let me know if you want this newsletter in the future or something like that. Like you're doing like the last ditch effort, like a Hail Mary, like, do I even have the right person here? This is for a cold contact. Then you do the same thing, build out the workflow, the sequence, the same thing for warm contacts, the same thing for follow-ups on the unsold. So taking a page out of Grant Cardone's book, the unsold, which are people that you quoted, these are the most one of the most valuable people besides the customers that you have. The next lowest hanging fruit for you is the unsold. People you quoted and couldn't close. You can have a whole unsold sequence. Hey, email number 1. I know it's been a while since we last engaged. Maybe you can pull variable data from your CRM system and say, it's been 85 days since I last reached out to you. But you build out these sequences for the different pillars. So pillar 1 is cold, pillar 2 is warm, pillar 3 is the unsold, maybe pillar 4 is like a follow-up type of sequence on a proposal. If you're doing tons of proposals and you're like, dude, I don't have time to send off like one-off emails, you want to throw them into this. Here's the cool thing about sequences, at least in HubSpot. If they reply, the sequence pauses. That is key. Take a note on that. If someone replies to a sequence, the sequence pauses. So you don't have to worry. Like with marketing emails, very difficult to be like, well, if they reply, pause the marketing email. No. If they reply, you can send them down a different channel. But what happens if they reply and it isn't recognized? What happens if they open it, but they didn't have cookies enabled, so you couldn't see that they opened it? So you have it's more of a foolproof method to say, if they reply, pause the sequence. All right, let's get into number 4. Number 4, copywriting. What's working today in 2024 and will continue to work for at least the next 12 months? Short copy, very short to the point. You don't need like copy that has like 300, 400 words, ridiculous. Unless you're pushing out a case study that somebody asked for, no copy should be that long. You got to keep it short, less than 200 words max. And that's if you're explaining some things. If you're trying to build trust by doing testimonials or like something that you did in a specific industry to make it relevant to them, the emails that are working the best are the ones that are like 3-4 sentences, very short, direct to the point, spread out vertically, so it's very easy to digest. You can put a link in there to a video, to an article, to something like that, to a case study. You can put a link in there, but you want to keep it very simple. Because if you look at the emails that are being sent out and you've got like 14 links, you got a link to your email, you got a link to your LinkedIn, you got a link to the content. Maybe you sent 3 different pieces of content. Now you're at 5 links. Then you've got another link to your website in another area. You got a time booking link. Hey, book time with me below, et cetera, et cetera. Like you got all these links. That's just going to flag stuff. That's going to increase your likelihood that even as a sequence, the email system is going to be like, no, you got too many links. Your copy has to be short, direct to the point. You have to play with the subject lines. Be direct. Be creative. Test it. A/B test it, or test and be like, hey, for this email, I'm going to say this. This other email, I'm going to do things a little bit different. Do not believe the email experts out there, like even HubSpot's system will be like, oh, here's 6 templates. Here's 6 templates that work great that we've seen across the board for all our customers. If you ever looked at those templates, they are so stupid. They say things like, what's one that I thought was hilarious? It's like subject line, maybe I crossed the line. And then the first body paragraph is like, between persistence and annoyance, I may have crossed the line because you're not responding. We tested that here because HubSpot was like, dude, this works. I was like, this is so stupid, but let's just test it and see what happens. It tanked. Like, that's the punchline, is that most of those CRM systems, email providers are like, this is what works. It doesn't. It's based on like a conglomerate of B2B, B2C, et cetera, with industrial, with manufacturing, and really with any B2B, direct to the point, short copy, understand from their POV. They don't have time to read through all these emails. They want to skim it. They're just skimming the copy. Hey, I do facility services for automotive companies in the greater Dallas area. Cool. You put that in there. Somebody in the greater Dallas area that's in automotive is going to read it. Hey, this is relevant. Let me pause a second. Give it another 3 to 5, 7 seconds of my attention. Yes, let me read this further. Click a link, or nope, this is bullshit. garbage. Move on. Delete it, mark it as spam. But like you have to make it relevant, direct to the point. Anything that's lengthy, people are just going to skim and then discard. The last one's going to be frequency, number 5. So pay attention to this copywriting, but don't beat yourself up over this. This does not have to be perfect. Test, measure, etc. And the last but not least, number 5, frequency. You need to be a little aggressive. Traditionally in industrial, it's like, well, but I don't want to send them 2 emails in 1 month. The way we do it is there's no issue sending somebody an email per week. If nobody's opening it, nobody's clicking it, nobody's engaging, then that method of communication is not working. That's when you need to move on to LinkedIn or a phone call or snail mail or a personal visit. Move on to that. But as far as frequency of like these sequences, once a week is fine. An action once a week, because if you're doing this at scale, like, oh my God, I've called these same people, like I've got 500 people I'm calling every single month. You know that, but they don't know that. They just look at it as like the person receiving the call is like, oh yeah, they reached out to me last week. Do not be annoying with your persistence of like every 2 days or every 1 day, but spread it out. Like there's no reason that you cannot send it 1 per week, 1 touch point per week. Now, once you get to a certain point, bottom of that cold sequence, then you want to move them into a long-term nurture. So frequency of that, it could be like send them an email every 1 to 2 months. It depends on your industry. It depends on the needs. It depends on the conversation, but 1 to 2 months to drip it out. You're trying not to get forgotten about. Maybe the first 5 emails they never open, but then in 3 months, they open up that one that you were waiting for. So you need to set the frequency to be somewhat aggressive for the first, I'd say 2 months. Be persistent and consistent. Don't be annoying, but 1 touch point per week, a task, an email, like every one of those is a touch point that I showed in the cold sequence. You send an email, touch point. LinkedIn connection request, touch point. Schedule a phone call, another touch point. Call them up. Hey, just want to leave you a voicemail. Now, I've said this dozens of times before, and I'll say it every single time I talk about cold calls and emails. There's one rule that you have to follow. If you leave a voicemail, send an email. It's that simple. You leave a voicemail, people are scanning their calls. What is this? Is that what it's called? Scanning their calls? No. Screening. Riley's like, I don't know, dude. I'm just doing some bad videos over here, man. Some badass videos with all my tattoos and stuff because I'm a cool dude. All right. But they're screening their calls. So you leave a voicemail and they're like, oh, who is this number? I'm not going to answer it. Leave a voicemail. I'm like, okay, whatever. Then you send them an email immediately after it, within like 5 minutes. Hey Joe, left you a voicemail on your desk phone. Want to reach out, talk about XYZ. Let me know when you have time to connect. Get me back. Like that's your email back to that. So in that sequence, it could be have a phone call and then a little subsection that says leave voicemail. That should be a rule across the board. You leave a voicemail, you have to follow up with an email immediately after it, letting them know that you left a voicemail. Maybe they never check their voicemail. They'll see the email. They'll engage with that. It's crazy how we'll watch it in our licenses with HubSpot. Somebody leaves a voicemail, they don't answer, they never answer the phone, and then a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, they engage on the email and they either open it and click or just open it, or they reply, sorry, not interested, something like that. It's like, dude, I knew you're screening my stuff. But the only way you're going to figure that out is if you increase the frequency. So once per week for the first, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks. Then from there, you can scale it back once every 1 to 2 weeks. After you get to a certain point, no engagement, once every 1 to 2 months. And if it's like, this is beating a dead horse, find a different contact. Hopefully you've done that by now. Once you get to no response, no engagement, find a different contact. Hopefully you have multiple contacts at that company. But then once you get to a certain point, you can throw them away and be like, I'm not going to reach out to this person anymore. Or maybe I'm going to send them an email once every 6 months. Just trying to stay relevant. Hopefully you guys got value out of that. We're going to take a short break. Riley's going to drop a dope video that he cut up last week, and we will see you in a minute to go through the comments.
life without the Zins. That's not true.
Oh my.
You gotta calm down.
Like,
Oh my.
All right, guys, we're back. If you like that video, I want you to put a comment in the comment section and say Riley is the GOAT. R-I-L-E-Y. Riley is a GOAT. We went to NPE, National Plastics Expo. We're going to do the same thing at IMTS this year. Hopefully next year I can do PAC Expo or something. FabTech this year in Orlando in October. That's going to be an awesome show because we're exhibiting it. We're bringing 15 people down. If you guys are going to be at FabTech, put a FabTech attendee or something in the comment section so we can hook up with you. There's 15 people from here approximately that are going down there. We've got a house with like 25 bedrooms. We're going to be doing some real world style confessions and do a whole behind the scenes video of it. But we're going to be doing massive giveaways at that show. We got a 10 by 20 booth, giveaways, raffles, custom video content. Come to our booth and we're going to shoot custom video content promoting you at the show. All sorts of insane stuff at FabTech this year. But Riley did an awesome job with MP. So if you liked it, say Riley is dope or the GOAT in the comment section to give him some praise.
All right, we got a question from Prabhu Ravichandran, and he asks, he's trying to improve his value in his customer's mind. Where should he start?
Trying to improve value in your customer's mind. Where should you start? So the only way to improve value is to figure out what is the problem. So regardless of what you sell, what industry you're in, etc., you first have to say, what is the problem that they have? Then you have to say, here's my solution. And your solution has to work. So let's assume your solution works. They have this problem. My solution is this, and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars for me to implement my solution. The point where money is exchanged between a potential customer and you is when they feel like the value of your service exceeds the value that they put on the dollars in their pocket. It's that simple, right? So if you make parts like Tim Drinkwater, who's on this live, love you, Tim. Tim is a CNC machine shop out of Janesville, Wisconsin. Tim makes parts. Now, a person doesn't have the tools to make parts. They don't have the machines to make parts for aerospace or whatever. You can come in, Laura. So they don't have the machines or the equipment to do it. So then they go out to people and say, hey, can you make these parts? If they trust that Tim is going to deliver a solution, which in that case, it's going to be speed is important to them, quality is important to them, and consistency, right? Those factors. Customer service, yes. But lead time, you can come in, Laura. Don't worry about it. You can come in. We're live. It's all good. I don't want to take up your space. So those things are important to them. The speed at which they can turn things around, the consistency that they can do it, and the quality of the parts. Could it be price? Possibly. But if Tim has done a good enough job being like, dude, we provide the best quality, consistency, etc., customer service, then that buyer will say, you know what? I trust Tim. And you can't close a deal until you have 100% trust. So you have to first say, what is the problem that you're facing? Now, if you go into it and say, I know the problem you're facing, all companies are facing with this problem, and you just show up and throw up, then you're going to fail. You have to go into it and ask questions. What are 3 things that you're having issues with right now in this area? What are 2 things that you wish you could improve? What is 1 thing that blah, blah, blah? You ask those fact-finding questions. You gather up all your facts, then you present your solution to them while building that trust, explaining to them why it works, how you've done it for other companies, how that is a common issue. You start to relate with them. You're building that trust there. But in order for you to provide value, they first have to know that they have a problem. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't realize that they have a problem until you bring it up. So if you're a manufacturer, if you're Tim Drinkwater, CNC machine shop, it's like you call somebody and you say, hey, wanted to see what issues you're having with your supply chain. That commodity manager will maybe like, don't have any issues, dude. I'm good. My supply chain is on lockdown. I have no issues. Versus if you went into it and were like, hey, there's a shortage coming on steel, or there's an influx in pricing in steel. The whole market is going to shift and prices are going to go up, but I pre-purchased and I have X amount of inventory and I'm not going to hit everybody with the price increase. I'm going to do it at a reduced rate. Then maybe that becomes a problem for them, right? Because they weren't thinking about it. But if you just do fact find, like, hey, how are you guys currently handling this? What's the normal lead time that you have for these parts for turnaround? Oh, our normal lead time is like 3 to 5 weeks that I get from my suppliers. Then Tim could be like, oh, ours is 1 to 2 weeks. They didn't even know if they have a problem with supply chain lead time until they talk to somebody that's doing it better. So you have to ask those questions. Fact find, ask questions, offer up a solution. If you do a good job selling, if you go more from an education standpoint, like, hey, I'm here to help solve your problems. If I can, I might not be able to, but answer these questions and we'll figure it out together. You're building that rapport, building the value, hit them with the price. As long as you're not crazy with your price and like just gouging them, you should be able to close business. Hope that answers the question. What else you got, Riley?
And then Tim Drinkwater has a question. He asks, is regular newsletters still worth doing in conjunction with sequences?
So I think that newsletters are okay to do to people that sign up for them, or people that are cold. If you said, hey, check out this newsletter. We produce X amount of content every week, because education and entertainment at the same time. You send that to them once to see if they sign up. That's a good play. If you're sending sequences and you force them into a newsletter, that I think is a bad play, because you're going to be cutting off your nose in spite of your face. You're going to be killing that chain of sequences by hitting with a newsletter. You got to look at it as like, what's more important? The newsletter is great for those that are like, I don't want to buy yet. I just want to kick the tires a little bit. So I want to see what you guys are about. You said that you're producing this content. Are you consistent? Are you going to provide me with some value? So a newsletter to me is like top of funnel, a segue into bringing somebody into a good conversation. A sales sequence, cold, warm, the unsold, etc. Those are more direct. Hey, I want to do business with you. Here's the things that we do. Here's the things that we offer. Here's some value for you, etc. So that's more aggressive, like sales outbound, right? Like it's coming from the salesperson. It's like a cold call versus just waiting for them. So I would say if you were going to run in a sequence, do not do it. Newsletter, just push that to the side. Have a newsletter on your page somewhere on your site. You can even do an exit pop-up intent. Somebody's trying to exit the page, hit the back button, pop-up pops up. Hey, sign up to our newsletter. We talk about X, Y, and Z every single week to try and entice them. The exit intent pop-ups always perform the best with newsletters. It's not the footer, it's not in the body, it's the exit intent or some sort of pop-up that says, hey, did you know we have a newsletter? Sign up here. That's top of funnel. That'll bring people in that are not interested in doing anything right now, but could very quickly. We've had people sign up for a newsletter and then book a discovery call like 3 days later. They got that initial email back from the newsletter, or a week later, they saw the first newsletter, like, okay, these guys do know what they're talking about in my industry. Now I want to talk to them. Hope that helps. Tim.
And Spencer has a question. He asks if we do email marketing for UK businesses. So he's asking us.
Okay, do we do so? UK businesses is tougher because you guys have different laws. So we do email marketing for some people in Europe, but because of your laws there, it's very difficult because you have to get consent and stuff like that. What I would shift to instead of email marketing is more through LinkedIn for the UK. We do a lot of that. So direct messages through LinkedIn. So treat LinkedIn like your email marketing sequence. You can build it out using some automation tools that I did a webinar on. That's secret because we're on LinkedIn right now. But you can do that and just use LinkedIn as your email marketing. If you have their consent, then yes, you can do it. But you got to be really careful because they will ban you and flag you and throw you into jail if you beat that up too much. So I would say Do it cautiously. We've done it cautiously and strategically, newsletter signups, consent, etc. You can't really do like hardcore cold like you can in the States. So instead of that, I would circumvent that with LinkedIn connections, direct messages, and treat that as your email marketing system. And all of that stuff, the stuff that we do with the automation, it all ties back into HubSpot to where I can go to any HubSpot record and say, ooh, Kyle sent this message to this person on this date. And it's all flagged in the activity. Hope that helps. Is that it?
Nothing else.
Riley's shaking his head. I hope that when I go back to this live, I see so many comments that say Riley is the GOAT for video to give him some praise on the. Was there a few?
Yeah.
There better have been dozens. I want to see dozens. And if you guys are like, I didn't see the video, Kyle, what are you talking about? I'm joining late. Go back and watch a replay. Either watch a replay on LinkedIn or on YouTube. It's much better on YouTube because you can control it and it doesn't just go away. Go to my channel, type my name in, Kyle Milan on YouTube, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you guys want to listen to this in podcast form, get this to your phone every day, whether you're getting your nails done or cutting that grass, you can listen to that. Industrial Sales and Marketing with me on every major podcast platform. Follow me on LinkedIn to get some more behind the scenes content, and we will see you on the next one.